What is up, everybody, and welcome to this third game in this PDC Draft Store Championship. This is game number 3, and if you did not see game number 2, I would really recommend going and watching that. It was a lot of fun, and at the end of it, I am 2-0. So this is me playing for first place in the standings before we go to the top 4 cut. I start off here and roll up a sidekick and 2 energy, and unfortunately for me, my team does not have anything I can purchase or pay 2 energy for. My opponent did have an invulnerability I could have spent 2 energy on. I don't know why I didn't do that. I probably should have, but then again, it would just be acting as a 2 generic most of the time. I could have, however, paid for that 2 generic, and it would have been pretty good to have some energy. On the other hand, I do have energy here for globals, but looks like that's a misplay starting right off the bat. This is my opponent's team. He's got Blink Dog. He's got the rare Blink Dog. He's got a Dwarf Wizard, uncommon, not the really good one. The rare would have been great. He's got the same cockatrice that I have. He's got a really cool ring that has the global. He's got a Gorgon. This is the common one. I have the rare one. And he's running the same Ani that we saw in game number 2. He's got a really scary Iron Golem. Really, all of those Iron Golems are scary, and this one is no different. It's got a nice little Fabricate ability, as well as Orcus. This is the rare Orcus that does count as a Fiend and does a bunch of other crazy Fiend stuff. He's also got a global that says pay 1 fist, deal 1 damage to target attacker. So he's got some pieces on here that I like. I like that Iron Golem, and I definitely like Cockatrice here. Not really sure what he's going for, but he's already picked up 2 wins with it, so he's definitely piloting well to get here. He's running Invulnerability and Magic Missile, and he actually likes to run both of these a lot whenever we play in these drafts. He likes Invulnerability. He picks those up fairly quickly and uses those a lot. It makes your attacking characters that get knocked out just come right back out to the field anytime that is used. So he can push fast a lot of characters and a lot of damage, and then if they get blocked and knocked out, then they just come right back and no harm, no foul. So I'll definitely have to watch out for that. He and I have played in these game 3s a lot, actually. I see him a lot in game 3, which means he's a great player. So moving on to my second turn, after he spends his first turn picking up a Cockatrice, moving on to my second, I pay 4 for an SRA, put that into the used pile, and that'll help me with some cycling. My opponent's turn begins. He rolls things up, gets 3 shields and a fist. 3 shields helps him pick up a Blink Dog if he wants it. Other than that, he doesn't have the energy for a Cockatrice. Looks like he's going to take an SRA. I think that's a smart approach. Allows him to kind of keep up on the board with me, or on the SRA purchasing board, whatever you want to say. I pull my SRA the very first time it goes into the bag, which is great. Unfortunately, it hasn't rolled up. So as of right now, I have 4 energy and 1 sidekick. Gonna want to re-roll the SRA. It looks like I actually just scoop it all back up, and it all comes right back down. The 2 energy types that I had before changed, but other than that, I've just got 4 energy and 2 generic. So I've got the 4, and I'm just going to pick up another SRA, allowing myself to get 2 of them, and then just kind of pump through my bag, hopefully picking up a Hellhound sometime. I've had some really, really weird rolls in all 3 of these games, things that have really been suboptimal, to say the least. They have not allowed for this team to really shine like I think it can. So my opponent has a kind of a weird roll here too. His SRA does not go off. Luckily for me, I have the sidekicks, even if it does in this reroll. Unfortunately for him, it did not go off. I have the sidekicks to KO, though, if I want to, and keep him to 2. Perhaps that was his reroll. Maybe he's stuck with this kind of like I was. Let's see. He's got the same 4. He's got 4 energy as well, like I did, and a sidekick. The sidekick keep is actually not a bad thing. Looks like he's going to re-roll that, though, along with the generic. And it comes right back as generic, plus a shield instead of a sidekick. I like the sidekick keep there, if he did keep it, because it does give him something in the field that he can choose to KO to prevent me from rolling 3 dice, and instead allows him to roll 2. He picks up a Blink Dog and an Invulnerability. I draw 4 from the bag, roll them up, get another sidekick, and this time I actually do have 3 energy, and I could pick up a Hellhound right here, and that looks like it's the best buy out of all of these options. I could re-roll that sidekick and try to go for a 4-cost character like a Cockatrice or a Gorgon. I don't think that's necessary. Right now I think I need to get the Hellhound out and start discounting Fiends, because that's what this deck does. That's what this team, how this team really pressures the opponent, is it just gets really good stats on the board quick and cheaply. So going to pay the 3 for a Hellhound, field the sidekick. Got a nice little board. Can definitely KO anything if he presents it. Looks like he's rolling his Cockatrice, so I wonder if it does come up. So he's going to be able to just field that and KO a sidekick, which is really nice. So he has some utility with that die already. I really like that card, and I really like that die. I wonder if it would have been more popular and more well known if it was a 3-cost instead of a 4-cost. The stats are pretty similar to most 3-costs. He picks up another invulnerability there with the rest of his energy. I wonder if it would have been too powerful as a 3-cost, because you can get a lot of 3-costs fairly quickly compared to the 4-cost. There's sort of a break there. You can buy 1 a turn when it comes to 4-cost, but man, you can do some weird things like big entrance and that sort of thing to get a couple of 3-costs in 1 turn, and it's such a powerful win fielded effect to be able to just choose and KO anything of 4 or less that I wonder if it would have been more popular as a 3-drop than a 4-drop. I certainly am on the bandwagon for that card and die. I think it's a great card. So my opponent, I present him with the opportunity to KO his Cockatrice in order to force me to roll 2. He chooses to do just that, and I draw and roll the Hellhound, and it does come up as the Hellhound, which is great for me. Gonna want to field that. Unfortunately, I can't really pick up those big like Orcus or Balor dice because I'm just 1 off the. No, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I totally can. Forget everything. The question now is, which one do I go for? Unless I have to pay. It looks like I have to pay to field. Just kidding. Back to what we said originally. So I'm at 4 energy. I could pick up a, if I have a mask, and I do, I could pick up a Glabrizu. And that's not a bad purchase at all. The Glabrizu that I ended up seeing is it seems a little counterintuitive to what I'm running with the rest of these. In that, well, maybe it's just because I don't have enough dice for it. It is a gate Glabrizu effect, so when it comes out on the field, I can roll another Glabrizu, and if it comes out then on character face, then I put it in prep. Don't have to purchase it, just comes right out. But I guess when you're only running 2, you don't have that many times to use that effect, especially if you purchase 1. You have to purchase the first one. So Cockatrice comes out, and he's going to be able to field that and then just immediately KO my Hellhound. Which kind of stinks for me, man. It's not the best for me. With the rest of his energy, he's going to have to pay to field because Cockatrice has a fielding cost on every side. One of the other reasons why I think that card would be fine being a 3-cost instead of a 4-cost. Because if you have to pay to field on every side, I think it's a 1-1-2 fielding, then why not make it a 3-cost? We're already suffering a little bit when we have to field it for that really amazing ability. But again, maybe that would be a little unbalanced. Who knows? So my opponent picks up a magic missile with the rest of his energy. He does not have any. Well, he does. He has Dwarf Wizard, I believe, that has the experience ability, allowing him to use the adventurer portion of the magic missile. My Hellhound comes right back up, and I get an SRA on my turn. I think this is where Magic Missile actually makes a ton of sense running in draft, because Magic Missile, you can actually use the other portion of its ability when running that card in a D&D draft. Whereas there are no other adventurers in other sets. Going to pay 5 here and pick up a Balor. And I think perhaps in previous games, picking up an Orcus, while ambitious and certainly helpful in the cost reduction department, I think Balor might just be the better pick overall, because of that ability that just allows me to keep rolling that die, and if it comes up, it just comes right out onto the prep area without having to pay for it. I think that's the best way to pressure. My opponent rolls up his dice on his turn. He's got another cockatrice. We're basically just playing this back and forth game where he fields, KOs my Hellhound. I roll it. Looks like I've re-rolled it one time so far. And it's come right back out. It's going to keep the cockatrice. Maybe it does. That's its one face, and it looks like it does have a 0 fielding cost. Maybe I was wrong before. He's got 4 energy. Kind of a weird smattering of energy. He could pick up an Oni. He could pick up a Dwarf Wizard. Thanks to that bolt he rolled, he can really pick up anything that's on his right side of his board. He could pay for another. Well, he only has 1 cockatrice die. It's too bad. Picks up one of my Haymaker dice. So he's purchased a lot of action dice, and I'm not sure I totally agree with that, because if those just keep coming up generics, then he's really at a disadvantage. He's only fielding 1 thing, and I haven't obviously applied a lot of pressure, so I can understand that. But it's about to happen. The pressure's coming, and he's not going to have a ton of ways to deal with it outside of fielding sidekicks. So I'm not sure I agree with the action purchases over again. I can't make him pay here. I can't punish him because I didn't roll the burst face, the action face on my SRA. Glabrizu's effect triggers, which means I get to roll, or I get to own one of those now, which is great. So I've got 2 generic that's just going to burn. I should pressure him a little bit. I should attack here probably. Attacking with the Glabrizu means he blocks with Cockatrice, probably KOs my Hellhound. That's not the worst thing in the world. It does force him to re-roll that die in the field, and sometimes it does not come up. So here my opponent has rolled a ton of action dice. He's got a Blink Dog. That's going to come out. He's got a ton of action dice, and 2 invulnerables have come up. 2 invulnerabilities have come up as their 2 generic sides. It's kind of an awkward turn for him. He can certainly use SRA, though, to kind of smooth out the purchasing ability. Because as of right now, he can't really purchase anything with 2 generics or 4 generics. So definitely going to use that SRA, and I'm just going to have the ability to KO one of my sidekicks to prevent him from rolling 3. And there's no downside for me doing that, really. He's not going to apply the insane amount of pressure that would force me to use all of these blockers at the same time. Namely, because he spent so much energy and so many turns building up this collection of action dice. Haymaker is a slight concern just because of the overcrush ability, and it does come out. It's unfortunate now that he doesn't have one of those invulnerability dice as an action face, because that would combo well with Haymaker. So he's going to pay to field the Blink Dog. He's got a Haymaker in his reserve pool. He's going to apply that Haymaker now. I'd like to see, well, I guess if you're only going to attack with 1, you might as well apply it at that point. I'm actually just going to let that through. I have no reason not to. So I'll take the 6. That cycles back through his bag now. And luckily for me, now I'm just rolling a bunch of dice. So I've got a Balor here, and I've got a Glabrizu. Should definitely re-roll that SRA. I actually could just swing for really big or lethal if that SRA came up, but unfortunately it does not. So 2 generic. It's going to help a little bit with the fielding cost, but luckily for me, because that Hellhound discounts by 1, I don't actually really have to worry about fielding cost. That's the scary thing about this team as well, because these dice individually, by themselves, they have fairly high fielding costs, like 1/1/2s, 1/2/3s, that sort of thing. But because of Hellhound's discounting ability for purchase and for fielding, this team can be really mean and really cheap overall. So assuming he blocks my largest character, which is a 6/6, I still have 4. Let's assume those are, I think, the 4 and the 3 side. So I could push for a lot of damage, but it wouldn't be prudent, most likely. So just going to push with one Glabrezu. Just enough to KO his Cockatrice. My Glabrezu comes right back because its defense is high enough. My opponent rolls up. Man, that Cockatrice is so good at coming back. Look at this. It's going to KO my Hellhound yet again. And I don't think a Hellhound has missed its reroll after it's been KO'd by a Cockatrice. I think it's been back and forth this entire game. Which is kind of a funny picture if you think about the game playing itself out. One character comes out, KOs another, back and forth, kind of getting beat up on. So my opponent here pays to field. Or is this a field for free? Let's see. Field's for free. Gonna use that ability to, once again, KO that Hellhound. The only eligible targets are the Hellhound or any of those sidekicks. Then he's going to use Magic Missile to actually just hit me in the face. He's not going to deal that damage to any of my characters, which is smart because he can't really do any damage outside of that to KO those characters. You could KO a sidekick, but it's not necessary. Might as well just deal the damage to my face, dropping me to 12. But at the start of my turn, I'll be rolling all those dice, plus 2 SRAs. Man, the SRAs do not come up. And neither does the Hellhound. Let's see if those change in the rerolls. Might as well just reroll most of this. I can keep it to generic, but I don't know if that's even a good play. I did keep it to generic. They both just came back, or that one just came as a generic. Hellhound fulfills his duties and returns to the board. I've got a ton of energy, 6 energy. You know, I think I am pretty poor, yeah, and that's where I remembered that I should have, when I fielded that Balor, rolled a Balor die from my card and then placed it in prep if it came up. Unfortunately, it did not. I'm going to pick up another Balor die. That's the danger in playing in drafts. If you're not familiar with these cards or with the team itself or any of the mechanics, it's easy to miss certain triggers and certain mechanics. I know someone pointed out in the second video that I missed that same trigger. It looks like I missed it in this one as well. So he's going to block straight up, and both of his characters are going to KO. My 2 characters would come right back to the field. Wonder if no, that's probably not lethal because he has 2 blockers. So he's just going to. Is he going to apply the 2? No, looks like he's just going to accept it. He could have applied a 1-2 attack to either of his characters, or both. One attack to both of his characters. Doesn't look like that would have helped KO any of mine that I was attacking with. So he rolls up another Cockatrice. That thing has been on the board the entire game. Luckily for him, because he hasn't bought very many characters. I mean, he's only bought that and a Blink Dog. Oh my goodness. I think at this moment I probably should be blowing him out, save for the Cockatrice continuing to just get refielded. So he's going to put out those 2 Cockatrice, KO that Hellhound yet again, and pass the turn to me. Again, he has 2 blockers. At this point, though, if I pick up another character, this should be game. I have a lot of damage on board. I've got an SRA to do it. Let's see what happens. SRA doesn't come up. Sidekick comes up. I might actually just keep that one. Just keep getting things out of my bag. Lower my bag count. So cycle those SRAs as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, they haven't come up like they did just now. They haven't come up very often. Gonna put that out there. Offer him the choice of me rolling 3 dice or me rolling 2 dice. And him KOing a character. It would be not a good idea to KO a character. He needs as many blockers as possible. He says pass. So I roll up 3. Balor does not land. That would have been game, I think, right there if Balor did land. He's got another SRA, though. And do I have enough energy, 1, 2, 3, 4, to pick something up and put it in used, and then SRA it over into my hand and roll it? Looks like my bag at this point is empty. So I'm going to pick up a Cockatrice, paying the 4. Then I'm going to use SRA. And I'm going to draw whatever's in my bag. He's going to say 3. It doesn't look like there's anything left in the bag, so this would go into the bag, then come out of the bag. This cockatrice that I've just purchased. And now I get to roll it. And it does come up, but, oh, yeah, it comes up on its very level 1 side, which means I can field it and then KO one of his characters. I'm going to KO the cockatrice. That could be game. What is that? 2/7/7. He can still block the largest, so he blocks the 7/7. Yeah, so that's still not lethal, I don't think. 3 plus 4 is 7 plus looks like another 4. No. Sadly, not game if he blocks the largest. But I do need to add some damage to him. Doing some sort of damage allows me to push for lethal easier. So the Balor's going to come back, but he is going to take damage equal to the attack of my Glabrezu, which is 5. So he's going to take 5 here and recycle his bag. I'm in a really good position, I think, looking at that board, obviously, and looking at the amount of characters that he has, which is 2. I should be able to close this out in the next turn. So he's going to pull 4 dice. He's got to get some sidekicks. He's got to make a couple purchases or do something. Man, and the cockatrice, it just continues to come. That is amazing. It just keeps showing up. So he can pay 2. And he's got 3 energy left over. He needs to make some character purchases yesterday. This guy needs to... we got to pick up some characters, and those things need to get out onto the board if he wants to claw his way back into this one. See what he chooses to do. He's got that same sidekick and cockatrice combo. Going to pay 2 to field on the most expensive side. Then he pays 3 to pick up a dwarf wizard, which is a great character to pick up, actually, because of the ability to use its use magic missiles, additional text, its additional ability text. At this point, though, I think he just needs to hope to get to that die. So he pushes his wind-fielded effect onto Hellhound yet again, and I'm going to draw and roll. See what I draw. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got an SRA and a Hellhound. Hellhound comes up, and so does SRA. And this should be game here. He's at 15 at this point, and I've got more than enough damage, I think. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to block the 7/7. That's pretty obvious. I've got the Hellhound sitting there, and then whatever I roll here. Clearly choosing not to KO. Roll up another 7/7 and a Glabrezu. So that should be game. I should be able to field. Should be able to field with a reduced fielding cost, and assuming he blocks these largest 2, which I would imagine he would. Yeah, looks like that should be more than enough damage there to finish him off. So that game felt a lot more comfortable than the other 2 did. Namely because I think once Hellhound got out, it actually started doing what it needed to do. I made the correct purchases with Balor, I think, over Orcus, and not go for value and really go for that tempo play, which is get a Balor, roll a Balor, get another Balor, roll another Balor, that sort of thing. Same thing with Glabrezu. Instead of just buying both of them, I was able to actually use its effect to pick up another Glabrezu die. So at the end of the Swiss rounds, I'm in first place, and unfortunately the moment that game ended, the one you just watched, my camera turned itself off and never turned back on. And I couldn't turn it back on or couldn't get it to work for either of the last 2 games that I played in the top 4. So talking about those 2 games, the first game that I played a friend of mine named Weston, and he brought Magic Missile to the table, so we went back and forth with purchasing that. I purchased the first one, he purchased the second, I purchased the third, and we basically just threw missiles at each other until one of us died, and luckily I was not the one that died. So I moved on to the championship game and got to see my friend Alan again, who I played in game number 2. And I wish you guys could have seen this game because it was a really cool example of high-level Dice Masters play and how one mistake can really set you back in the whole tempo game. I'll try to explain it as best I can. So Alan went first and picked up an Oni die that has the ability that says, when fielded, deal 1 damage to a sidekick, puts that into his used pile, and then passes over to me. I roll up 4 dice and get something like sidekick and shield, mask, something like that, right? And I look at it and I go, well, this is fine. I just need to re-roll that sidekick and then get an energy. Once I get an energy, I'd have 4 energy, then buy an SRA, so I can be ahead on the SRA race since my opponent couldn't buy one his first turn, right? And rolling an energy off of 1 die is pretty easy. It's a 5 and 6, so that's really high odds, but I didn't look and think about what would happen if it came up sidekick again. Looking at the 3 energy that I already rolled, I can't actually make any purchase if that does not come up as an energy face, that sidekick, that 4th die. I only have 1 3-cost purchasable card in Hellhound, and I don't even have a fist for it, so if I don't roll this as an energy, then I will not be able to purchase anything turn 1. And this was not in my line of thinking at all. I was totally solely focused on just re-rolling the sidekick, it coming up as any energy whatsoever, and then paying for an SRA. So imagine my reaction and my surprise when lo and behold I re-roll it and it comes right back up as a sidekick. And I realize at that moment that I am extremely far behind in tempo. My opponent already has a way to KO the sidekick that I'm about to field and has a whole second turn of buying to pick up whatever he might need to deal even more damage to me and push his advantage even further. And that's exactly what happened. On his second turn, Alan picks up a Beholder, a 4-cost Beholder that has a 1/6/5 side on its top side. Passes over to me. I'm actually able to buy a Hellhound, I believe, but it goes into the bag, obviously, and I only have 1 sidekick out on the field. On Alan's third turn, he fields an Oni and deals 1 damage to my 1 sidekick and then pushes face for 5 damage on turn 3. I have no response to it, obviously, because I only had the 1 sidekick. Passes back over to me. I think I even roll the Hellhound, but it doesn't come up, adding insult to injury. So I pick up an SRA, hoping that it allows me to catch up a little bit. But he begins his turn 4 by rolling up the 1/6/5 side on his Beholder and then smashing that into my face, dropping me to 9 on turn 4, and it was just no coming back after that. I clawed back onto the board and got a few fiends out, but he was able to just push enough damage with the Oni die, the Beholder die, and a few Gnome Rangers that he picked up along the way to seal the deal and win the tournament. And even though it sounds one-sided, it was actually a lot of fun because I was trying to find ways to claw back on. I was prioritizing sidekicks, and even though they didn't come up, it was really engaging to try and work my way around this problem of being so far behind. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but man, it was a lot of fun, and again, I wish you guys could have seen it. So I ended up 2nd overall in the tournament with a really fun team that I drafted, and I enjoyed all of the games that I played, every single one of them, all 5 of them. I hope you guys enjoyed these games as well, and as always, thanks for watching.